Okay, so I think that we got everyone on board, or more or less. So welcome to this afternoon session. My name is Eric. This session will be about the tools that both the community is providing, but also what is out there and what's being used during this pandemic, and how it was operated. So as Junki told, we will start off with some lightning talks to describe the scenarios. So Fabio from GAR,
Yes.
would you like to just go ahead?
Yes, sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me share my screen. So I hope you are able to see my slides.
Yes.
Okay, full screen, and let me start my timer so I won't get over time as usual. So today I will talk about how GAR tried to face the video conference crisis caused by COVID. And first of all, let me describe what happened when, since day zero of the lockdown, we had to face this challenge, because we had a number of things that, of course, changed because of COVID. And first of all, on the networking perspective, the first thing we observed is that, of course, the traffic to and from school fell down to zero. And also we observed a strange traffic inversion towards university, because what has used to be mainly egress now became ingress, with a large increase in percent. And beside the behavior we observed on the GAR backbone, of course, we also have seen flooding and problems on the commercial providers, because they were not prepared for such an increase in ingress traffic. And one of the main things that we have seen in Italy, of course, is that there is still persistent digital divide that is affecting many regions of the country, both because of the actual geographical topology of Italy that causes some limitation in the spread of the fiber. But on the other hand, as Gabriella explained this morning, we also have seen problems in digital literacy for the teachers. On our side, for the quadrant that can control, we have seen also that traditional video conferencing systems like H323 or Adobe Connect are not suited for this kind of information, mainly for two reasons. Licensing limitation and technical scalability. Even though GAR has a quite large number in Adobe Connect licenses, these were not enough to face the huge sudden increase we had. So we needed to find new ways, new solutions, and we decided to go for brand new open tools, namely Jitsi and Edumit, and we decided to adopt both the tools because we wanted to have a field trial. And differently for the with respect to the traditional tools that were mainly protected using federated authentication, we decided to go for open access. So everyone in Italy can use these tools. And indeed, we have seen a huge usage from the schools. Both the tools behaved really well. Admit as a very good readiness level. And the last point we needed to face, of course, is the end user support. We were not able to handle the request for just even a small part for the 7.7 million students that were at home. So we find a completely different way. We decided to team with the Italian open source movement and build up an action that has been called Io Resta a Casa, a stay at home in Italy, in Italian. And as Io Resta a Casa essentially is a bottom-up federation of Jitsi and EduMeet servers, and we have been able to help end users with a brand new approach to the support that I call the people-led people, because just using simple tools like Telegram chat, we have been able to support end users essentially 7 days a week by letting other participants in the federation to help themselves and exchange knowledge and support. So what about the future? For the future, we have two horizons. The short-term horizons is within the next 6 months. And for the service point of view, we expect that in the autumn, now schools are over in Italy, there will be 15 remote participation and 15% in presence. Of course, there are again issues because of there are small percentage of the old school connected to GAR, so we will have to tackle again with the digital divide. And we want to foster and go beyond with the EORESTA experience, because that kind of end user support showed its value on the battleground. About the traditional tools, of course we will maintain the legacy tool and move from physical H323 tools to softer one. For example, we are looking at PEXIP. We will go on with both Jitsi and EduMeet. And as I said, EduMeet has been a real surprise, in particular for music teaching. Let's consider that Zoom cuts about half of the higher frequency in music teaching, while EduMeet has a damping that it's lower than 10% of the overall frequency. And this is a huge advantage. Another big name that is coming more and more frequent in the chat is Big Blue Button, and we will have to go through a trial for this. Just my final words about long terms. From the EORESTA experience, we have seen that there are spaces for a national interoperability cluster for this kind of VC services that is sustained beyond the crisis period. And GAR firmly believes that there is also space to support a federation of this kind of services on the pan-European landscape. And of course, as I just said, and here we are here to discuss this about, there are for sure more than just VCs. We need to find an ecosystem that create liaisons between the VC systems and the learning management system and collaboration platforms in general. This is the GAR point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabio. Any questions for Fabio? I think we should take them right now, because there's probably going to be a lot of talks after the lightning talk. So maybe if there's a few questions for Fabio, it will be okay.
Hi, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, this is Emrah from Turkish NREN. Actually, we have installed a video conference system based on Jitsi, and we open our services to our users, thousands of users. And actually, I want to wonder what the difference between EduMeet and Jitsi. Can you compare these two solutions, please?
So let me talk about EduMeet, because you know Jitsi and you're already familiar with it. EduMeet is pure WebRTC, so you do not need clients on your mobile devices. Then EduMeet scales much better on the vertical dimension, so you can host more clients on the same server. And this is because it uses different slight assumptions on the way it distributes video. That's more efficient than Jitsi. EduMeet is more privacy compliant. For example, Jitsi mobile clients have a vector that send data to Google and Apple. This is not unfair for most of the academic user in Italy. And from the horizontal scalability perspective, they are comparable, and they are simple, as simple to install. What else? Oh, of course, EduMeet is a giant product. Is a giant intellectual property, and this is, in my opinion, the most important thing, because if you need features, you can ask to developers for features, and you have a prompt feedback in general. While Jitsi has its own roadmap, and you have to stay with it. You cannot do anything.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another short question for Fabio?
I suppose, sorry, Fabio, thank you. It's very interesting. What kind of level of adoption have you got from your universities? Because one of the big things that we've seen is that in individual institutions, you might have multiple different video conferencing systems, and people have just gone with the commercial one in most cases. They have been seduced by Zoom or whatever else it may happen to have been.
Yes, we did not impose any top-down decision, of course. We let the university during the crisis adopt the tool they prefer, and we also seen that a number of university moved towards maybe not Zoom, but Google and Microsoft were really common in Italy during the crisis. What we are receiving right now are many questions and many requests for adopting, for example, Big Blue Button, because they are seeing that commercial products are not sustainable on the long terms, and they also, well, mainly it's a matter of economical sustainability on the long term.
Yes, I think Fabio, you're off the hook now. I think we should move on. Because I think we're going to have a big discussion after this, and we might not have time for everything. So, Howard from Carnet will
Hello.
talk. Yeah.
Hello, Eric. Hello, Fabio. Hello, everybody. Jonji. So nice to have you here. I was thinking what to talk about when I was about to go to this conference, and Fabio told us a lot about standard issues that I think every NREN has, and I choose to talk something else, something little bit different about realization of the conferences. So I will just let me share my screen. So we in Carnet are supporting teachers and academic network along the way with streaming events, with standard-based video conferences, webinars, and we are striving with to get the best possible user experience for these events. When we did conferences before, we used some old techniques like large video conferences. We had large teleconference rooms, and we connected our users to these virtual events. They had to have installed client. There was a client like, I don't know, Polycom PVX or something similar. Today it is Real Presence Desktop. We still have 200 licenses pool for this video conferencing tool, and we are still using it. And as Fabio mentioned, we also have Adobe Connect, but since it's the licensing problem, we have similar problems. We have a large number of users. Not everybody can join, and the sessions must be scheduled. And the problem is that you cannot have all these users on these platforms. So I was thinking maybe of making something like a hybrid solution, combining old technology and new technology. So maybe streaming sessions live using free platforms like I don't know. We have our own IPTV portal that is using Adobe Flash Media servers and so on, and we can connect our encoders. We can stream to that IPTV platform, and more users can connect to such platform. So all we needed to do is actually to connect hardware and software required. So we have to have a certain software. Will it be open source, or will it be paid? It depends about the institution. But what is important here is to be concerned about organizing such an event, and to think of maybe combining asynchronous tools and synchronous tools to get the solution, one solution that won't be so synchronous. Let's say we can have streaming and asynchronous chat that will, let's say, have a delay from 30 seconds to 1 minute. But I think that it is possible, and it is a way to go, maybe to stream events and to have a virtual conference held like this. So last year we had a big math teacher congress in Šibenik, and there were 300 participants on the event, but more than 600 online. So we had to provide streaming, and we also did Adobe Connect, streamed Adobe Connect room as well, and we used more than one channel. So we used a webinar chat, Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, and we had a lot of tools that we could use, and that we combined and get the okay, and got best possible results on this way. So what about organizational technical limitations? So it depends about the facility, and additional possibilities could be using the new technologies. So as I mentioned, tools we were using in Carnet at the moment are still H323 video conferencing, Adobe Connect, Jitsi. But we are thinking about to shut down Jitsi solution and to focus on EduMeet. And also schools and universities in Croatia are using Microsoft Teams and Google Meet. So from streaming perspective, we are using Windows. We were using some time ago Windows Media Flash and Flash Media encoder. And now we're using mostly OBS and Wirecast. And we also advise this to our users. So what are the perspective of this? I think we have to focus on new technologies like network device interface, which can combine more sources while streaming, and also interconnecting video conference or web conference into the streaming. So we have combined these technologies, and we get the best possible result. And I think if you got me, that would be all. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions that we can just pop up of mine right now? Then we can take them now.
So it is maybe hard sometimes to have a video conference in the same room as the conference is being held, but that's another issue, and we are solving this by observing this audio difficulties on the separate, let's say, kind of solutions. Yeah. Sometimes we had a virtual conference also from CERN on our current users conference. That was large conference. We had 1,000 users in the lecture hall, and we had to be sure that there won't be echo in the. But if you put two different mics to attach two different mics to the speaker, then you can solve this problem. And there are some, yeah. Thank you for your time. Yeah. Thank you for your time, and I would kindly ask if anybody has some new ideas about how to make these virtual conferences even better. We have a large conference each year, so that is Current Users Conference, and this year we'll probably have to find a solution, different solution from previous ones, and probably some paid solution as well. So if anybody can comment on that, I would be very grateful, and we are looking to find new ideas how to make this conference even better.
Yeah. I have one small comment. We are combining Slido, Slido.com together with the live streaming quite successfully to the large number of people. So we had webinars organized for 5,000 of teachers in same way. So it's really effective to collect the questions and gather feedback and also answer those. So you can take a look at Slido.com.
Thank you very much. I appreciate any input. That's the reason why I wanted to address this problem. And we are having a large conference each year. We have more and more participants, and this year it will be, I think, very hard. We had one virtual conference in 2009, but it was a video conference, and it was not so interesting, and it was too early maybe to hold such a conference with audience, and people want real conference. They don't enjoy these virtual venues and events, you know.
I think that Jungi and I have seen the same thing. We started out streaming the TNC conference, and the first year I think we had something like 200-300 viewers online, and it just grew to more than 1,000 viewers online. So it's true. It also time is helping this thing. I think we should move on to John Wilson, if you're ready.
Of course, I'm always ready. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Well, firstly, thank you, Eric. I know some of you perhaps met me in the past. Some of you are existing customers of ours as well. So first, secondly, many thanks for giving me the opportunity to give you a quick overview. So if you know anything about vScene, you'll know essentially it was originally started by Janet in 1992. Can everybody see my screen okay? Yeah. Okay, good. So we've been very quiet over the last couple of years since we took over ownership of the Janet video conferencing services. Now the reason for this We've been spending a long time working with the community across education and research to continually build the platform. It allows us, working with the education community, to build a product that's fit for purpose, not just now, but fit for purpose in the future with regards to the kind of innovative delivery of education and learning. And obviously over the last couple of months, this has given us the ability to learn a lot more on how people use the technology and how people want to use the technology moving forward. So vScene is over 20 years old, as you know, started by JISC as Janet Video Conferencing Services. It's had a lot of iterations and changes and improvements and enhancements over these last 2 decades, up to the point that we took over complete ownership of this in 2017. Our plan with the service was to enhance it, redesign it with efficiency and interoperability in mind. Now, as you know, in education and research, there's thousands of tools that people use and everything. And if I was to list everything just now, it would take me absolutely hours, you know. And you know what? A lot of these different technologies provide different features and different flexibility for people within education, you know. What we're trying to do with vScene is build a platform that allows interoperability and flexibility across the entire platform. So one platform to provide everything that you need. That's the concept of it, and it's continually evolving, as I mentioned. Now, we're the only platform that is endorsed and certified to be on the Janet network in the UK. Through Janet's peering relationships, this allows us access across the Xeon interconnect in order to be able to access other FE, HE, and research organizations across this network. And we have organizations in Shanghai, Australia, and we have organizations in America as well. Our focus, more than anything else, is the security application and the requirements that a service that supports education needs. Number one, we are end-to-end encrypted throughout our entire architecture, be it WebRTC, mobile, H.323, SIP, E164, and NRENs. We provide end-to-end encryption throughout, and that involves all the integrations that we do with Skype for Business and Microsoft Teams as well. As I mentioned, we're Janet approved. The service can only be used by education and public sector. It cannot be used by enterprise, and it can only be accessed by organizations rather than single users. We don't require anybody to install any software on the desktop. We utilize WebRTC, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. There's strict moderation control built into it. We use UK and EU government approved data centers, which are obviously GDPR approved. Over multiple VLANs across data centers, utilizing 99.99% uptime guarantee across scalability. We have a UK support desk, although we are opening up offices in other parts of the world as well to support more local organizations. We're ISO 27001 approved organization. We don't track user data, we don't use user data, and we don't share any of our user data at all. We're Cyber Essentials Plus accredited through our entire organization and our architecture. And we're also GDPR masters. We're accredited across our architecture and our business as well. Currently, vScene is used by over 2,000 education and public sector institutions across further education, higher education, schools, research organizations, as well as public and private health bodies as well. It's a 360-degree platform. What does this mean? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide the whole landscape for education, providing a whole ecosystem that supports the pedagogy, not just across education and research, but across the whole collaboration approach. We utilize a best-of-breed technology at the back end. So we use SDKs from Video. So the Video SDK, we utilize VP8, VP9 SVC. That's soon, we're working in conjunction with Video on the AV1 codec as well, better compression, decompression algorithm. We also utilize PECSIP for integration with Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business. And we also integrate across H.323, SIP, E164, and NRENs, BFCP as well. the whole interoperability piece is important because we want to give people the flexibility to be able to join from wherever, whenever. Now this could be home, it could be the classroom, it could be the lecture theatre, it could be the telephone. So all built into the same platform. We've got multiple different kinds of collaboration tools built into the platform. So we've got moderation, we've got polls, surveys, quizzes, whiteboarding, we've got chat, we've got document sharing, we've got the ability to record, stream, publish to YouTube, Vimeo, Kaltura, and many other applications and lecture capture applications that people use as well, things like Medial and things like that. We have the ability to support up to 10,000 people in any call at any one time. We also have the ability to utilize, if required, simulcast. We've got multiple audio codecs involved as well, Speaks for the lower frequency and Opus for the wider and higher frequency calls in that as well. We also have something that's called multicast content sharing. So you can have up to 50 content shares at the same time. As a platform, we've got the ability to support scheduling in advance, automated scheduling that calls out to people in room systems automatically. We've got presence built into it, direct calls. We've got a whole administration page as well to manage your organization and child organizations. We've got a media library built into it as well. We're just about to launch transcription, auto transcription. We can integrate that with your own media library on-site, off-site, or in cloud. That we can host that. There's unlimited hosting capabilities for videos within that. They're all HD as well. You can share that within your organization or across another organization as well, password protected or link protected. We also have what's called spaces, which are collaborative study spaces, a little bit like Adobe Connect or some of the other collaboration technologies that are out there as well. It supports integrated workflow, collaboration, document sharing, discussion, study groups with full administration control, moderation, and management built into it as well. As well as this, we support the classroom environment. So the hardware device, the vRoom hardware device, works in the same way like a Cisco, Polycom, Lifesize, Starleaf, or any other kind of VC vendor device that supports 4K. So you can encode it 4K 60, decode it 4K 60. This provides a dedicated turnkey solution that you can install on a screen in your existing lecture theatre, integrates with Extron, Crestron, AMX, or any of the other kind of control mechanisms that are out there as well. We have a pricing platform model for small and medium organizations, and we also have a managed service, which is the price plan that we designed for NRENs. This price plan allows you to manage child organizations and child organizations within your estate as well. So if you've got universities, colleges, schools, they can be administered in a different way from other organizations within that. We don't provide a host pricing model. We don't do that, unlike some of the enterprise solutions that are out there. This is a pure NREN pricing model. It's an unlimited pricing model priced on concurrency, concurrent line ports. So you can have, say, 20 million students accessing the service. You don't have to pay anything extra for host accounts or organizational accounts or recording or H323 or SIP. It's all built into the same platform. There's no added costs. There's no other aspects of tools that you can put into it. It's all built into the same pricing model. Okay. There's lots more that I can talk about, but obviously I only had a short amount of time. So if you've got any questions, let me know. I'm more than happy to kind of discuss it offline as well if you want to send me an email. Does anybody have any questions just now? I'll stop sharing.
Thanks a lot. Any questions? A quick one?
I do understand there was a lot of information to absorb there, so.
Yeah, or you were just lucky. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you, John, for the presentation. Very good. We will then move on to Gittes and tell us what's going on in Lithuania.
Yes, just a moment. So do you see my slides now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, they are not from the, I need to go back to the beginning. Okay, so Okay, the national infrastructure in Lithuania, based on up-to-you project ideas and project developments, and COVID-19 challenges and implications. So me and my colleague Eimantas will present this in 5 minutes. What we did with the up-to-you solution at the national level, we first of all decided, based on our previous experience and based on what we hear from the schools, that they want to have their own Moodle instance. We decided that we will go with this multi-tenant Moodle solution. So we installed the multi-tenant Moodle solution and offer it together with LitNet as our service. Also integrated on the next step, integrated most of the tools from up-to-you toolbox, like H5P, Virtual Programming Lab, EDU, Podium, etc. Another step was to integrate with LitNet identity provider solution, because LitNet is working on it. And was ready this year, so we made it possible for schools. And facing the COVID-19 challenges, we had to scale up. We already been scaling up quite intensively, but with the COVID, we increased the load on the system something like 30 times. So, and last but not least, were the new services added because of the raised requests from the schools. So like Big Blue Button and video, which Eimantas will talk later on. So what we had in Lithuania, we had during the Up-to-You project, more than 1,000 teachers involved in the trainings. 580 of them finished with the certificate, and they were already trained and could help their colleagues. During the COVID, beginning in the COVID, we had the dedicated webinars for the teachers, and more than 8,000 of them joined those webinars. So we had in some webinars live 5,000 participants. So in total, we have 268 Moodle instances up and running, with in total more than 15,000 courses created and more than 70,000 registered students on the system. So I put the small graphics from the Google Analytics to indicate how dramatically it grew during in the beginning of the COVID. So, and the numbers went to up to 1 million page views per day. So this was quite a challenge for us, and how we face this challenge. So the peak loads up to 3,000 concurrent users. We try to solve by increasing number of CPU up to 100 processors. Multiple servers were used. For example, for the database, we split it up for separate schools in the separate services. And another challenge was big amount of students, and a lot of data were coming as an assignments from their camera phones, from their, so in total we accumulated about 4 terabytes at the moment of data. So, and what implications is that then we see that national strategy to facilitate use of virtual learning environments and provide further support for up-to-you infrastructure is needed. So I gave the floor to my colleague Eimantas now, and he will talk about Big Blue Button.
Hello everyone, my name is Eimantas and I'm representing Lithuanian Academical Network LitNet. We are working together with Gytis, and we help it a little bit to spread virtual learning environments with adding additional services to Moodle. So we are open source guys, so we were looking for a solution and found Big Blue Button. We like scalable solutions, and the big problem was that Big Blue Button is very difficult to scale. It grows with bigger hardware requirements. but we found one hack and did it scalable, and you even can scale it on different virtualization platforms, on even different data centers, if you can provide a shared storage solution for all virtual machines. So you see how much resources needs this cluster solution. There are 14, let's say, workhorses with big blue button. Each one has 8 virtual CPUs and 16 terabytes of RAM. And in front of all those virtual machines, there is a load balancer that has register sessions in Postgres and Redis databases, and remembers which one meeting is on which big blue button server. So in that way, you can grow this solution to a very big amount of parallel users. Next slide, please. As we are not very big country, so on most busy day, you see there were near 600 concurrent users and and 80 meetings in parallel, and it was enough to have such amount of resources to provide this environment. Next. And another one solution is like having YouTube on premises. It integrates with Moodle as well, and it's very good because you can provide safe virtual environment for your videos without any advertisings and so on. So this solution is good as it uses S3 storage. So if you have some cloud resources or self installation, it's very good for large amount of videos. It integrates with authentication mechanisms like LDAP or others. So we integrated with our own identity provider solution, and it's possible for teachers to upload content and to integrate it with Moodle that Gytis and his team provides. So briefly, that's it. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I hope we have questions.
Thank you very much. Yeah, unfortunately, we have time for one short question because we have 1 minute left, right, Jungi?
Yes, correct. We have a 1-ish minute left, but we can have maybe 1 or 2 questions if somebody raises.
I was anxious to ask about video recordings of the big blue button scale with Moodle. Is it a problem maybe concerning storage?
No, it records and provides in good format all those videos that our storage grew about 44 gigabytes during all this period. So I think it's very space effective.
Thank you. Thank you.
More question to Gytis or Eimantas?
Just one very quick question on the video system. You say that only teachers are uploading to that, but do you do any or have any concerns around moderation or content that's uploaded to the system for legal reasons or other pieces?
As far as only teachers are uploading at the moment, we do not have any strict moderation procedures, and we trust that they will respect the copyrights and all the legal stuff. So because of these legal issues, we don't intend to upload videos from anyone. So it will be only teachers for the teachers. So I guess that we will manage to solve. Maybe we will have this kind of problems later on, but we will act or when they will happen.
Cool, thanks. I mean, we allow students to upload as well, and they still have to do it through they still have to do it through federated identity. It's not a huge risk, but it's a question that's been brought by people for both AUP and legal reasons. So it's something we're looking into at the moment.
Thank you. And there was one last question on the chat. Do you have a monitoring solution for Scale Elite?
Sure, we have monitoring solution. By the way, this load balancer checks health of each backend, and if it sees that some of backends are not working properly, it just stops redirecting to this backend. But we have own centralized monitoring solution that we monitor this service as well.
Perfect. Okay, I think we should wrap up. No, Janos, you have a raised hand.
Thank you. Just a comment for the content of the uploaded video. I think, as usually in any kind of repository, the owner of the data remain the uploader. So they are responsible what they are uploading in the repository. So they have to be aware of the copyright issues and any privacy issues and so on and so on. So we have to provide some kind of tool for them to able to track who is the owner of the content. But I think any repository operator should aware of such a situation. We have a similar system called Videotorium more than 10 years now, and we are following that principle. So we are if we have some questions, questionable content, we are passing to the discussion, and we are helping the discussion with the original uploader and the requester. So that's the usual method that we can follow.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. I think I would let this session go. In 5 minutes, we have to meet back in the plenary room for wrap-ups. So please join us there. And thanks a lot for joining. Junki?
Yes, I don't have anything to add. Thank you again, and we will try to summarize the conclusions from this meeting. And you have a 5 minutes short break.
If we have a few minutes, I could add one thing for the implications for the future. As far as we have the critical mass of teachers now on Moodle, we see that it's just the right time to introduce some content sharing among teachers. And we are looking at the Moodle net development as a content hub. So the Moodle will start providing this solution with the 3.9 version. And we are considering installing the local Moodle hub for the content sharing among teachers. So this also goes in hand with the H5P, because H5P also for the interactive content have its own hub for sharing. So we are looking carefully at those solutions because we feel the need from the teachers. They want to share, they want to interchange with the developed content. So not only the video content, but the created materials inside the virtual learning environment, they are very actual.
Thank you, Gitis, for this added information. Okay, now I really will close the room, if you don't mind. So I see you in a few minutes. So great that many of us are back in the plenary room. I think some of the other sessions also run a little bit longer than originally scheduled. I can see that a lot of people are still just joining back. At least we have a little bit of a feeling of a mini conference now. And based on the sessions I have been attending, it was very interactive, a lot of topics covered. And thank you all for that. I suggest that we still wait for a few minutes for all of us to finalize the sessions. And also to return. So I can see that at least half of the people are already back in the plenary room. But I think we need a rest too. So in this final session, what our aim was to summarize of today's virtual meeting outcomes and also the discussions which were during the sessions, and what can be the outputs, what are the challenges which we can approach together as the community, what are the opportunities where we can jointly do together as a project or cross expertise area act together. And our task force education steering committee member Esther Wilkinson from JISC, she will have a difficult job now to try to bring it all together with the help, of course, of those hosts who are still with us. I will help her with the trust and identity session because our experts are unfortunately also in another meeting this afternoon. So I will help with that, but of course the other ones are still with us and they will help. Esther, would you like to say a few words?
Sure, thank you very much for that. And you're right, there's been a lot of extensive and broad discussions today over a multitude of topics. So it's going to be quite challenging to summarise all of that. But as I say, we'll give it a go. Just revisiting again what we were supposed to achieve in our mini conference. It's about finding the balance, the role of NRENs in supporting education. What can we do? And I wanted to start with a bit, an observation really from some of the feedback that I've been reading as we've been going along. I think the one thing that was mentioned that we should give up was the need for certainty and predictability. I think that really does summarise quite a lot of things that we've talked about today. So it's so difficult to predict what happens next in this world as we stand at the moment. And we are a sector that is very reliant on data, from data analytics all the way through to moving big chunks of swathes of data across the world. So this is a real uncertain time for us all. We don't know whether our countries will be open, our universities and colleges and schools will be open. We don't know whether terms will be online. We don't know where, a lot of the universities that I've spoken to don't even know where their students are, whether they've been repatriated home or not. And we don't know when they'll come back. So there's so much uncertainty, and we're going to have to learn to live with this and work around it. So I will let each of the session hosts give their feedback and pick up on some of the feedback that we've been capturing as we've been going along. We'll ask some of the members of the TF-EDU, the steering committee members, if they want to say what they've observed today. And Georgie's also got a survey that we're running for feedback as well. So over to you then for trust and identity, Georgie.
Thank you very much. So during the trust and identity session, there has been a lot of discussions about the commercial tools, how they are different versus what we are offering. And one of the things they found that we should look at, either as the task force on education or as the community, is to identify commercial tools that are most wanted and leverage the size of the community to push some requirements to the commercial services. The other points which they felt that we should act on is to identify community-driven services that are relevant for education and work together as the community to scale them up. There was also a question which came up is what are the use cases for the educational services and which products would be suitable for trust and identity elements. And if we can look at the cost analysis for the commercial services that are relevant for the task force education. All in all, it was keep being highlighted the importance of having managed federated access. And it's a big deal and it's very necessary. And how can it be? It can be a blend of National Identity Federation and also with other identities like O365 ID or Google ID combined. The managed federated access would be also useful if you need a lifelong educational ID. Keep users' ability to log in later within their lifespan when they want to look at educations. And services can be also offered via different IDs, and there is a need for the account linking. And that's what we need to look at together with the trust and identity community. These are the short summary from the trust and identity session, what we pointed out. I don't know if anybody else from that session would like to comment or add something to it.
I don't see anyone.
I heard somebody, yeah. But I don't see anybody's hand raised. Yes?
Non riesco a collegarmi
all'altro
no. Consumo.
It was an accident, I think. Mauro was still
no worries.
Unmuted. Okay, so if nothing, then I would like to give the word to the next one.
Is there anything burning in terms of next steps from this area?
What I noticed is that really the collaboration and that is burning from this area. And also to look at what are the niche areas where we can work together.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. For session 2, Dragana, are you going to summarize that one?
Yes.
Lovely, thank you.
Welcome. So we had a session on NRENs experiences and responses to the COVID situation. In this session, we have 5 lightning talks from all over the world, I would say, from Europe, from Croatia, in Italy, but also from China and from Chile. Actually, a Chilean presenter talked about the experiences from many different countries in South America. And what we concluded in the really, really small discussion, short breakout session, that our experiences are so very similar, very, very similar all around the world. We had to face almost identical challenges of too little resources and too little time to prepare for it, not enough planning, but the need to really, really stretch ourselves as much as we can and support the education sector. And in most of the cases, we have succeeded with a little bit of luck also, but also because of the extensive competences and knowledge that already is present in our NRENs. But we also have discussed not only how did we scale up some of our resources and services, but what will happen in the future do we have to scale down now? Do we have to go back to normal? And what is normal? Is it something that was pre-pandemic, or is it to be something new, something else? And this is where we actually concluded that it is very, very difficult to predict and very, very difficult to plan. And that we really have to acquaint ourselves with that feeling of uncertainty and unpredictability. This is, Esther, what you picked up. And this is something that we really, in the future, I think we will be, we will need more and more that as a competence, actually, to deal with unpreparedness, uncertainty, and real difficulty in planning. And one of the, I would say, also very interesting discussion was around budgeting or unbudgeting. Did we really, in all this, maybe not confusion, but complexity of so many actions and tasks that we had to accomplish to be able to support, the higher, the scale up level of user requests, did we really have time to budget all the amendments, all the resources that we gathered within this short time? Or do we have to just go back? I mean, we will have to budget it in some way, but do we know how much it really costs right now? And how do we really sustain those costs? We don't, at this time, we don't really have sustainable solutions. So this is something that was really stretched and really, we used all the available resources, even borrowed one. But to sustain it over a long period of time, that will be really, really challenging. And I'm sure that we will have many, many more discussions like this one in the near future as well. So this was it from our session.
Thank you. Definitely huge financial impact. And that leads quite nicely onto section 3 or session 3 that a small number of us had a chat about. So we were talking about international education and whether that was delivering the same or different to national education. So in summary, very much different countries have got different approaches on delivering their international education, and mostly a lot of that depends on how much international students pay for their tuition, for their degrees and masters and postgraduate. So for a lot of countries, it comes to the point that Dragana, you were just saying, for some countries, the financial impact of not having international students is huge. Particularly, I think in Australia, the UK, the US, and many other countries in that position, which means that we've had to really take seriously our reliance on different countries for international students. And again, there are a lot of unknowns, as I alluded to before. We don't know in a lot of cases where these where students are. We don't know whether they've got access to devices and access to the internet and broadband. So we really need to concentrate on student experience. And I was going to pick up on this in from the last session, that we think, we may well have been successful in getting everything online, but what is that measure of success? The student experience should be the measure of success to a certain extent. There was also a thought that we need to retain current students rather than looking to recruit new international students, which would be which would be very costly for maybe little reward when students don't really want to travel away from their countries and maybe wanting to be educated locally. And fundamentally, connectivity and access to devices was the critical problem, and also equity of access. Some countries have, universities have given loans to students to buy equipment. Some countries are looking to get their students back to campus ASAP. And this comes to one of the suggestions, and one of the common themes, I think, through what I've heard so far is about collaboration. where universities can collaborate together and learn from each other and work with each other. I think the time is right for that to happen, with us facilitating that now. So for things like establishing a resource centre in a different country where students could go and continue their studies safely, rather than having to travel back to the UK. That's my summary for session 3. Are there any questions on that one? I think we can come back to that later. Anyway, so session 5, tools. Eric, are you summarising this one for me?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we had a way too short session. That's one of the outcomes we learned. But we heard we heard about overcoming the issues of delivering these tools, both network-wise, that we had ISP problems. We discussed a lot about the trust for the teachers and the students in providing these services. Are they can we actually use them? Are they living up to the demands in the different countries? Also, we talked about moderation and sharing content. Who are we sharing it with? Again, back to is it safe, and can we trust what's being uploaded to us? And then we also had a broad discussion also on the chat I saw on and very high interest in open source tools and how we can provide them, and we heard there's a lot of things being done with those open source tools and how you can bond them together, and a very good thing. So I think that the outcome of this was that we need to, in this tools multimedia group, maybe do more knowledge sharing because we need that. I think that's the short summary of what we experienced.
That's great. Thanks, Eric. And what about things for the TF-EDU to take forward? What can we do together? Is there anything that you think we can do straight away between the groups?
Eric, I think it was for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's one thing we need to make sure that we can meet up again and discuss some of the things. And I could especially see there's some interest in the JR provided tools that we might need to focus on for this group of people in the future, in the very near future.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Section 6. Annabelle, are you good to do that one for me?
I don't see them straight away, but let me ping them. Maybe in the meantime, start with Natalie. Annabelle, are you with us? Or Magda? No, I don't hear. Let's start with Natalie again.
Okay. So for the session on digital assessment and e-learning, there was discussed that there is a change of vision necessary because it will no longer be enough to stick to the school exam situation scenarios. We will need to move to new scenarios for digital assessment, and which are more adapted for real life scenarios. So this means we will need real life new formats for assessments. And what was discussed more is that we will go more into formative assessment or formative exams during the semester instead of summative assessment at the end of the semester. So in general, there is a change of perspective and to a more on the move formative assessment scenarios in general. So this is the outcome of our session.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Thank you. And again, what could the TF-EDU do next? in this area, do you think?
So what is also very important that came also out in these experiences that were presented during the session was that it is very important to have a community of experts to stick to have a community of people who are familiar with these scenarios and where you can get quick answers to questions and help for challenges. And the community approach helped a lot during the COVID pandemic. So communities will become more important in the future as well.
That's a really good observation. Are we going back to session 6?
Yes, I ask Dave Hines, who is also the co-host of that session, to help to summarize it. Dave, are you able to help us?
Yes, Jongi, with pleasure. And thanks for providing me with Annabelle's update. Okay, the 3 things to take with us into the future. There seems to be an interest for continuing the VC framework. The concrete demand for purchasing licenses needs to be measured properly before starting any preparations, similarly to the LMS tender last year. One thing to let go is institutes can't profit from the video conferencing framework directly. This is only open to the NRENs. Zoom licenses can be bought by institutions via the GÉANT COVID crisis and post-COVID business as usual driver. So, but what was quite interesting, I think, for all of us on the session is just realizing that the COVID crisis has seriously changed the way we do business. And the appetite for some of these solutions before COVID, when we reached out to the NRENs, wasn't there. And that's certainly changed dramatically in the last 10 weeks. And we see life beyond the COVID crisis, business as usual, as being very different. A lot of the NRENs are working more closely with the education ministries. Primary and secondary education is moving online rapidly, and that will be sustained. So GÉANT does anticipate running new procurements for video conferencing. We're hoping to have a number of solutions on a legitimate framework. We are obviously very supportive of EduMeet and the EduMeet team's ability to respond to the crisis in terms of a sustained offering, in terms of the kind of functional development they've been doing has been remarkable. We may need to revisit the need for a European-wide framework for learning management. But we're anticipating some of this information to come out of the upcoming NREN strategy workshops, which I think the first one is on the 16th. So that's pretty much summing up what session 6 was all about.
And thank you, Dave. And I saw that Annabelle is just joined us. So I don't know if Annabelle, you want to add something from your session?
Yeah, I apologize. I think David's mostly covered it, but I think it was, from my perspective, it was good to hear 2 things. That NRENs are very clear that collaboration, learning, management systems, etc., should be part of GÉANT's overall portfolio, and are interested to let us know what their requirements are so that we can do that. And my second observation is that it's clear that EduMeet has moved on as a tool very, very quickly. And I think everybody in the session was very appreciative to PSNC and all colleagues working on EduMeet, Uninet, etc. And also that EduMeet will be an excellent tool. It's open source, it's free, it's very easy to use, and I think it's going to be a very strong service for NRENs in the future. Not just NRENs across Europe, but NRENs globally as well. And we certainly had the interest during the session in finding out more about how EduMeet could be delivered in countries outside of Europe. So I think that was really positive, Jongi.
Thank you very much, Annabelle and Dave.
Thank you to everyone who participated in those running those sessions and for the feedback you provided. I think we've gone through the feedback that was collected during the sessions already, so I don't see any need to go through that anymore. I'd just like to invite the task force steering committee members to give their views on today, their views on next steps, and where we go from here, really. I'll let you nominate yourselves in which order.
Well, if I can start, I'm really looking forward to the next mini conference in the autumn. This start. So this would be my suggestion. I think we have heard from in our sessions and also from the hosts that collaboration, cooperation, sharing knowledge is very important, and we appreciate it, and we should do it even more.
Absolutely. So we've signed up for that in the autumn then, have we? Brilliant. Thanks, thanks, Dragana. Vegard, over to you, if you wouldn't mind saying a few words.
Yes, I think we have a lot of follow-up to do after this. We got a lot of input to what to discuss. I'm looking forward to a discussion on future contingency plans on whatever could happen. Today we've been discussing what happened when this situation occurred, but I think we have a lot of work to do on planning for whatever might happen in the future. Maybe we could have a role in that, in the exchange of information around those processes. And I also followed the session on digital assessment. I think we have been very little into that so far, and we could do more on that.
I certainly think it's we need to keep up the momentum. As you say, things are changing so quickly. Keeping in touch with everyone in a similar sort of way, and the subgroups, the other groups of GEONT is going to be really critical. Tommy, from you, if you're there.
I'm here somewhere. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, okay. So, well, I see we have addressed many issues here, and some of them we're going to try solving nationally, and some of them maybe with some international collaboration. I'm talking this uncertainty in planning and sustainability, financing, scaling up and down. So there, and on the other extreme, we also know, and we have learned that it's not all about technology, of course. There's a major issue of organization of work, both of adults and in school students, question of digital skills, security, safety, rules, how to behave, how to introduce this new kind of work. So this maybe we will solve locally. I'm not thinking still of international collaboration, although it would be interesting. But thinking merely in terms of tools we are or our service portfolios, NRENs, I see maybe two major tracks. One is commercial tools. Here we are discussing pricing, licensing models, joint procurement, such stuff. And on the other hand, there is some kind of own development based on open source. And coming back to the say video conferencing session, there's been it seems that we are strongly leaning towards EduMint, and I see it as a promising, but I'm still somehow missing more discussion, more dedication. So where to go, what to support as a community. There are other Other things have been tried and are still in trial, like Jitsi, Big Blue Button. Although here, of course, we have to acknowledge that Big Blue Button maybe belongs to different group where we are also combining not just video conferencing tool, but also learning management system. And that addresses also the compatibility of video conferencing tools with LMS systems. And another point has been made just at the end that teachers or education sector, what they actually need is content. So are we introducing, on how deep are we digging into the issue of content, content coupled with our services within our LMS or whatever plans we have? It's not a trivial question. We are struggling with it here in Slovenia. I know about some other countries, and it's another step away or beyond our fundamental purpose, but we'll have to address it. So I think there's a lot of discuss, but the time to discuss is now, because many decisions will be probably made, or at least tracked in next couple of months, and it's definitely strongly coupled with NREN strategy, with managing service portfolio and so on.
If I may add to that, and thanks Tommy for this, because I was thinking about the presentation from the World Bank when they were presenting the first, like the 6 points, which they found that based on this experience, what came out of learning what we have done and being a bit more prepared. And what I find important as a task force education, that we should try to synchronize the strategies of the different NRENs, both in terms of what they are doing as educational services, where we can help as a community help to prioritize it for us as well, and taking into consideration with all the reasons for the NRENs, what they find important and relevant, and synchronize the strategies, not only for Europe, but also globally, because I think that can be important. And really like find the niche areas where we are very strong at and where we can give a very strong added value to the education community as well.
I'd agree with that. The World Bank started us off really well with those 6 areas, and maybe we should be using those 6 areas to focus our work in a different sort of way. Are there any more steering committee members that want to contribute? Or if not, I'll open the floor up for anyone's questions or comments on today, what you'd like to see us doing next, and how we can support you as TF-EDU. If you just raise hands, that would be great. I'm not seeing any hands. We've probably worn you out by now. Well,
there are 2 hands now. There are 2 hands.
Do you want to run through that? I can't see any hands.
Yes, Mauro to start with.
Yeah, just to comment. Thanks a lot for this meeting, virtual meeting or video conference. I think is clear. 2 things. One is that what I learned from this emergency is that we have to increase the resiliency of what we offer, including to education. Resiliency means many things to many people, but for me, it means that we can't rely on a single video conferencing system or a single video sharing system. So rather than trying to decide which is the best, we should see how to make things more resilient for the teachers. Having more than 1 or 2 probably would be a difficult task for the teachers, because they barely adapted to having just 1 new things now. So also the choices should also look at how simple is for the teachers to adapt to this environment, and that is also very important. The other comment I want to make is that federation is also the real way to make a resilient service for our European countries, because it may lower the burdens of hardware and software between all the NRENs at the same time. And even if the NRENs have not tasked, in many cases, the official issues to serve education, we can at least provide them some safety lane to survive in, again, emergencies. I'm very worried about what happens in September. In Italy, for example, they plan to have half and half in school and half at home. I really don't know how that will happen, especially because homes, as has been voiced many times, are not really connected to the rest of the schools. So we have a difficult challenge there.
Yeah, same here.
Thank you, Mauro. I see one more hand up, Garvan.
Yeah, I think one of the points raised by the person from the World Bank was around the affordability or accessibility of devices and broadband for students. Unless we can do something to help, we need to do something as best we can to help students to get devices that are fit for purpose in their hands with a broadband, a mobile broadband package, or whatever it might be, that is fit for purpose. Otherwise, the digital divide will just get bigger and bigger.
Thank you, Garvan, for your question. I would be also interested, and that was not in our survey this year, but based on the situation, what happened, how many NRENs are being approached by their governments to step up and provide additional support beside what they have been originally just doing. So maybe that's also a question to all the NRENs, how their life is being impacted and their focus has been impacted by the pandemic situation.
I don't see any more hands.
No more hands. No, I don't see more hands.
Should we leave this to you for feedback?
Okay, thank you very much. So if no more feedback right now or questions, then I would like to take the opportunity to ask you for direct feedback on today's session. So if you don't mind, I will put it on the chat where I would like you to go to. Parallel, now don't go out from the meeting room because I also share my screen. But I would like to ask you to please go there. In just a second. I will share my screen. Great. So I guess you can all see it. So we would like to take a few moments of your time to please access this link to www.menti.com and use the code, copy paste it from the chat of the Zoom page. And please, by clicking on the heart, then I can see that how many of you from this virtual conference are present in the Mentimeter. And I'm hoping that we can reach at least more than 50% of you. So please go up, because we are 68 people in the Zoom room and I can only see 16 hearts, 17. Okay, it's going up. It feels a little bit like an auction, but please ensure just to click on the little heart on the bottom of the page to see that you are all there. Again, I'm reaching at least on 50% of the people. So please make sure that you are clicking on the little heart to see that you have accessed it. It is important for us because it really helps for the future meetings, virtual meeting preparation, and it also helps us to later on to really showcase the value of the community to both the GÉANT members, the General Assembly, and also to the outside world, outside community. Okay, so we have reached at least 50%, so I go to the next page. So on this page, we ask you about the program and rank it. I know that not everybody was able to join each session, so for those sessions you have been attending, please mark how you felt that how the session was organized or run, just as an additional ranking. It is from 0 to up to the top, so the last one. I don't know why it doesn't show the top one, but basically the last one shows the top number if you have a highest ranking. So please start ranking. I see. Thank you very much. And I see only that 5 people have done it, so we can also monitor like how many of you dare to. It's all anonymous, so we won't know who said what exactly. So you feel free to say whatever you want. It's really up to your opinion, and it's important that we have some feedback and we can make it better for the next time. We all have to adapt to the new way of virtual meetings and virtual conferences a little bit. So this will be very useful for us. So again, we are reaching at least almost 50% of the participants. And just take your time, no problem. And I will go to the next element, which will be more thinking and open input from your side. You can add more information than just once. So we would like to ask you, what is the one thing you will take away from this meeting? You can add multiple ones, so it's a bit contradicting what I'm asking. However, it's good to say what you really found important during today's virtual meeting. So please put up some of your ideas. I think it's very nice to see that what came in first is the communities are important, and that we also have a very common understanding about the situation. So please feel free to add your main outputs. We will take some time. And of course, if you want to reach us later on, you have the email address of the steering committee and also myself. So feel free to reach out to us directly after this event as well. Very nice. So we have I think we have a lot of positive inputs from here, and I will move to the next question from now on. This is for the next meeting. These are where we would like to ask you to incorporate your topics or something more specific for in the area of education technology, to add what you would like to hear or discuss next time, because that will help us to shape the meeting. I'm curious about who wrote the serialized sessions, like what they mean. Like if you mean like per the expertise area, you would like to have a series of those type of sessions in the coming weeks or so. And that is something to go back to. And very nice, and longer sessions and more discussions. We also got those, of course, to have less parallel session. Yep.
Sorry, I think serialized session means not having parallel sessions, because as the whole thing is online, you can skip sessions very easy and still be productive, right? You can switch from work to conference to work. It's sort of like a TNC where you are stuck at the conference.
Thank you, Renato, for explaining what you meant under it. And yes, it came from also from another session as well. Maybe you were also attending that one. To have maybe next time, instead of like one day and parallel sessions, have like multiple days, shorter sessions during the week. So that's also a good feedback. Thank you very much. And then I go to the last question. What should we do different next time? So I will take it from the previous slide to serialize the sessions, but please add also some other topics. I don't know who wrote meet in person. I would love that. That would be nice. it will be possible. It's just question of time. And I'm hoping it's not too long time, but I really would like to meet with most of you, of course. And I see that somebody in the chat wrote that they would like to vote on the lunch break activities. And we got also positive feedback on those. So thank you very much, Birgitta, for running those. Really appreciated. So I see that a lot of ideas coming up, and that will be taken into consideration for the next next meeting, which we organize and run. Thank you all for your feedback, and I want to thank all the TF-EDU steering committee members, and especially big thank to Birgitta, who has been doing the technical support for this event, and all the speakers, all the session organizers for helping out with the creation of the program and running the sessions. I really appreciate it, and I really would like to thank them for all the hard work they put in there. And I hope that we have made this experience for you all worthwhile. And we would like to meet you again, possibly in person, but if not in person, virtually in the few weeks or a month's time. I don't know if anybody would like to say something, or if Eric, you would like to add something to it as the chair of the TF-EDU.
No, I would just say thank you for organizing this, and thank you, Jungi, for being such a big part of it. I think I talk on the behalf of the steering committee when I say thank you. And thank you to all of you for joining. And I was glad to see that everybody wants to have another session like this as soon as possible.
Thanks very much, Eric. I'd just like to add to that and to thank Kyungi and everyone else. So that's on behalf of the Special Interest Group managing service portfolios. I think it's the first time that we've done interaction with TF-EDU. And as someone looking to support collaborations across task forces, I think this has been the first of more stuff that we can do to make sure the task forces are interacting. So Gyongi and everyone involved, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to come and add to these discussions. Thank you very much. And definitely, I think we wish we were all in Brighton, although I can tell you that the weather in the UK is pretty rubbish. So it's probably better than where you are right now. So thanks.
So with those nice words, I suggest that we slowly say goodbye. Let you have a 7 minutes break before your next meeting or work, or a little break. So thank you all for joining us today, and see you very soon, and stay safe, and give us your feedback later as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye to everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.